Hello, good morning. Welcome to our solution talk about low carbon energy systems and eco-districts. We have a kind of a very interesting topic, as you for sure know. I don't know, it's a bit noisy here. I suppose you hear me, but yeah. Okay, so there is a really big challenge and also a big effort which is done all over the world, making new systems in order to, let's say, put in practice the energy transition and new cities, new eco-districts, new, let's say, smart districts are one of the very interesting tools and vehicles to achieve this. So we have today 10 outstanding speakers which are going to explain us very interesting cases, ideas and proposals, and I believe it's actually very pity that each of them has just 5 minutes to explain his case, and hopefully we are going to have some 10 minutes at the end in order to discuss and to take some question from the auditorium. Okay, the first speaker is Mr. Iker Marcaide, coming from Valencia. Iker is CEO of Barrio la Pinada. I think very really interesting project in terms of new ways of urban planning and planning together with the citizens. Iker is an entrepreneur with a different wide experience in different companies, also holding an MBA and master from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So Iker, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone. So in opening up here, warming up you as audience. So I'm just gonna share in 5 minutes what we're up to in Valencia. And tell you a little bit about La Pinada and kind of what we're up to. So essentially, okay, so this is not working. Okay, so doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm just gonna get started. So I'm clicking. Okay, now. Okay, so the district. This is a district that we're doing for 4,000 people in Valencia, over 60 acres of land, around 25 hectares. Essentially, it was born from a school. So 3 of us, we were looking for a school for our children in Valencia. We didn't like any, so we created a school, which is Montessori school. This is the 3rd year, and then we thought it would be pretty amazing if people could live nearby the school. So we found a great place, a plot of land, which was actually far larger than the size we needed for the school. So we started thinking of what we could do with that. So these kind of some pictures of the school. Pointer is not working very well, but do I have to tell you, or do I just click it? Because it's not working very well. I have to tell you? Well, I just found it. Okay, I'll just keep talking. Okay, so we found this thing, which was really well located. Essentially, it's like a void on the urban fabric of the city. It was already surrounded by districts and neighborhoods, and it was originally military land. This is actually the nice picture. It was full of debris, which we've cleaned up. So we found this, and we said it would be nice for people to live nearby. And we thought, how could be the district or the place people live aligned with the school values around sustainability, innovation, and social commitment. And the thing is that it was really hard for us to find someone from the industry to work with to do something along those values. So essentially, we purchased the land, and then we created La Pinada as a way to do something very different and inspiring. We come from the tech world, from tech startups, and rethinking how we actually develop cities. So on one end, okay, so this is not working, I'll just keep talking. So on one end, we set very ambitious sustainability objectives around circular economy, carbon footprint, sustainable mobility, water consumption, energy consumption, essentially kind of best in class of the technical solutions and the ideas around the world. Second is we're actually co-creating with the future inhabitants. So we've had already 3,000 people that have signed up to live there. And we meet with them and say, hey, what's your budget? How do you want to live? And how can we fit you in? So for us, it's key, the diversity, the inclusion, and that aspects, which typically in traditional urban planning is much harder to achieve. And the third one is we don't want to sell housing, we want to sell living. So we're creating a bunch of services that makes people's life easier and it enables them to live in line with their values. So essentially live a more sustainable life. So, why do you want to buy something if you can just use it when you need it? So that's kind of the idea. And then we started activating the community and really making it a place, an interesting place to start building a community. Currently, we're in design stage. And it's, it's pretty amazing kind of using this as we're seeing the district as a platform for many other things. We're creating 2 more spin-offs out of this on different topics. And we also put together an open innovation program for corporates and startups to join us and work together. And it's also a way for people to align also their kind of investments with their values. So we've had a bunch of co-investors come in of different sizes as well. So we're truly doing this as a kind of as a way to activate the community in different sorts and hopefully making something that's inspiring over time. So you're more than welcome to check it out at barriolapinada.es and have a conversation, a few of us around here, if you think there might be potentially synergies. So there you go. So it's 1 minute extra and the pointer are not working. Perfect. So it's one minute for you guys.
This and...
Sí, es que no funciona, ¿eh? Le das y no va.
A mí me funcionaba, lo he probado. A ver.
No, si quieres probarlo.
Thanks Iker, for this fantastic presentation and for keeping in time. The next speaker is Professor Aloisio Pereira da Silva, coming from Brazil, from beautiful Florianopolis. Aloisio is a civil engineer dealing with infrastructure, so he has great ideas about how to integrate new infrastructures in cities. So, Aloisio, the floor is yours. Thanks.
And hello, good morning. And we are talking about the infrastructure, and this today is smart and sustainable city, INFRAVIAS system. And really, what is a smart city? Smart city, it looks like our body, and technology is a smart part of this. And today we are talking about the urban planning mainly. And to have a great problem today in the lack and the urban planning in the infrastructure. And my question is our infrastructure fit for a smart city? I think so, no, because we have several problems and a large problems. Without no coordination with urban planning, with the facilities, without standards in the underground space, no coordination between companies, between water and power, for example, and the underground is unsafe, it's very unsafe. For example, this is a place in Brazil and Germany is the same. It's several pipes and several cables, and only United Kingdom, 4 million pounds and holes, 4 million holes and 7 billion pounds per year in the costs. And we have a proposition and we have a pilot in Brazil for a next generation of infrastructure and sustainable mobility for a smart city. It's an INFRAVIAS system, its chair, its idea is combined, and urban planning with networks and no more networks in the streets, and remove all this for a share and safe place in the sidewalk. Its structure is made by plastic, it's a recycled plastic made by waste, and zero waste conception and construction and sidewalk and bike lanes. This part of is a box, and the cover is a sidewalk, and we have a green infrastructure for drainage and integrated and efficient management. And we have a gas and telecommunication, water, power lines, server and recycled water, and car and public illumination. This is our pilot in Brazil. In location is the Sapiens Park, started in about 20 years ago, and the production of the components in 2015, the construction 2016, the construction of our pilot, and the test between 2 years in 2016 and 2017. It's a very useful. It's a simple idea, but it's very useful. And the pilot results it's reduced construction by 30% and maintenance and operation by 70% because it's very simple idea. And when I share the space, I reduce the cost so much. And high-level technical development, we have several companies in Brazil, in Europe, and USA to help us to produce this idea, this project, and upgrading this. And today we have a Brazilian standard in the TEM and several awards and magazines. And the great idea is to create a governance, the underground. Because today you don't have a governance between these hours, and the idea is creation of the entity for centralized management to operate this area. This new concessionary is private partners and government the idea to create a PPP, and to have a new concessionary to create the maintenance of this. And the current infrastructure is, for example, the power lines, rent, the space in the structure to operate this, and they create the focus. And the client, the consumers, for example, everyone wins. Municipality, and reduce the holes in the pavements. Urban waste is a raw material for this structure, and a part of this money returned to the municipality, the city. And the concessionaries is a great advantage, reduction of the construction of the operation, because we share the space, share the construction, focus on business and consumers, no more investments, because this other company invests all this in the construction. And the investors, this is a great opportunity, the new opportunity, new business and the opportunities. It's scalar and modular business and circular economy, and can use in any city is a great advantage today. And what's the problem? Fear of innovation and lack of planning, lack of transportation. You can help. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Aloisio. Thanks, Aloisio, for keeping in time. Great presentation. So the next speaker is Mr. Cyril Roger-Lacan, coming from Tilia, from Paris. Cyril is CEO and co-founder of this outstanding company dealing with the energy innovation in districts and wide urban scale developments. Cyril.
Good morning. In Tilia, we co-develop integrated smart city energy transition projects with cities, with industries, with communities. The point I would like to deal with this morning will be based on the example of district heating and cooling. You probably know that heating is 50% of our energy demand. And the question I will try to address in those 5 minutes is to what extent do we need in our smart cities public collective infrastructure versus building scale infrastructure. As we know, we will rely increasingly on what I call flexible infrastructure. That has to do with scope, scale, and service. In terms of scope, more and more our infrastructure are going to serve more than one purpose. And you can take, of course, the example of charging infrastructure for vehicles, which are also delivering services to the electricity system. They will be downscaled. Of course, this is a major trend. And the question is, yes, we are going to downscale much of our infrastructure at building level, at car level, at smartphone level. But do we still need bigger infrastructure, and what for? And I will touch upon that in a second. And they will also combine in new services differently than they have been doing in our traditional systems. Energy is probably the field where this downscale of infrastructure and flexibilization is the most spectacular. Our energy systems are rebuilding bottom up and to a large extent at building level. And the question really is, do we still need collective public infrastructure in our cities, and what do we need it for? Or can we rely on energy positive buildings for most of what we will need tomorrow? The case of heat is interesting because it's a core need. As I said, 50% of our demand. One thing that is interesting is countries where you have the most efficient buildings are also the countries which rely to the biggest extent on grids and on collective systems. That goes for Scandinavia, which has very high buildings efficiency, but also excellent mutualized smart heating systems. Goes for Germany and Austria. It is also something you will see in Eastern Europe, where you have those housing problems and old district heating systems, that you find better business models, especially from agencies and public banks. You have better business models if you upgrade the system as a whole. And so we have a question, of course, which I would like to take two examples for. Just a few remarks on district heating and cooling. The model in Europe has changed completely over the years. There was an old model around centralized supply, very little consumer choice, very traditional infrastructure, which is developed in most European countries apart from Southern Europe in the years 60s, 70s, 80s. The new models are completely different. They are enabling new energies to be connected all the time: waste energy, renewable energy, thermal solar energy, geothermy, cogeneration, tree generation. So systems are very flexible, and they're also flexible for consumers who become part of the system, not only individual consumers, but industries, building owners, and various players. Sorry, I did it the wrong way. I will take two examples. One is of a new smart city, one is of an old district in an old sphere. The first example is Paris-Saclay. I have half of a minute for each. This is a cluster south of Paris where we managed, in an environment where buildings are super efficient, to make the case for a geothermy-based, low-temperature, low-carbon system. And now that this initial investment has been made, the system develops into a real smart grid, multi-energy, which is better than the result we would have achieved if we had relied only on fully decentralized systems in the first place. So it's a semi-decentralized system using a lot of heat sources from decentralized point, but also using the local geothermy, which is the best choice we could make on the long term for the community. I will jump to the next one because I have to. There we're talking about, switching from France to Germany, about an old district heating system, very inefficient, very expensive. And the city question was, what can we do out of that? Do we have to get rid of that old grid? And we managed to re-engineer that grid out of agricultural waste, cogeneration, energy efficiency. The bills dropped by 30%, carbon was reduced by 40%, and the return of investment on investment of the city is 25%. So there is a holistic business case in this project. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Cyril. Okay, the next speaker is Dr. Nicolás Pardo García. Nicolás is coming from Austrian Institute of Technology, and he's going to explain us about local energy planning in small and mid-sized cities. Nicolás, please.
You have problems? Okay. Excuse me. No. Hello, my name is Nicolás Pardo. I come in from Austria. And what I'm going to present to you, it's a project. Sur City is a joint project between three countries, Austria, Portugal, and Sweden, with several institutes and companies and cities. The goal of this project is to support the small and medium cities in Europe to develop their new energy strategy plans. Basically, during our previous research, we realized that there are a lot of institutions at European level, like the Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy, and these institutions request the city to develop their SEAPs until 2020. This was, and now the SECAP. The SECAP is the Strategic Energy, Climate and Action Plan. The point that we realize is that the big cities, they have enough resources to develop these plans, but the point of the medium and small cities in Europe is that they know how to define very well the targets. That means 30% or 40% of CO2 reductions until 2030, for example. And they are very good in the implementation phase. They already have like a group of companies around the city that they are able to make in a proper way the implementations that they need. The question is, for the cities, is which decision they have to do it. And this is the goal of our project, to support them to take the best decisions to get their targets. So this is the goal of the project, support the integration and policy and measure and decarbonization. That means to support the cities and the politicians to take proper decisions. Keep sustainability goals. It's not just CO2 emissions, it's also to improve the air quality and the land use and the water use of the city as an integrated way. Improve the governance, so improve the transparency, how the cities they take decisions. And the most important thing is to put all the city actors together. This is not like the municipality take decisions and the citizens accept. There is the possibility to have a discussion between authorities, companies, and citizens to get decisions. So this is a little bit technical. This is the project. This is a platform where you have an energy modeling behind. And then there is two parts, this energy modeling behind, and then you have a communication area to support and to receive feedback to the policymakers. We realized that in the small cities, they don't have resources, especially, for example, in Eastern Europe. So this platform is it's available in the cloud. So any city, any people actually, can download this small software in their computer and they connect directly to the cloud. The idea to put in the cloud is all the information of the cities will be there, and actually this support the cities to communicate their activities to other cities and their solutions that they have been done. So to create additionally a city community about this. This is just a small screenshot how it looks. The point is that the models that they are behind to define the proper strategy, the optimal strategy, is very complex. So one of the challenges of this project was to simplify this model and then understandable for the cities. The cities, they have to put some data. They can work at mapping level. They can define zones where, for example, they can distinguish zones from residential, industrial sectors, industrial areas. Actually, we try to cover all the main topics of the cities, like residential, commercial, municipal, transport, waste and water management, and land use. So it's very extensive, but the way to use it, it's very easy. This was the big challenge. But at the end, to have as we said, a proper platform that supports a huge amount of cities and to be able to cover a huge amount of study cases, we decided to take 3 study cases. They are partners on other projects, Judenburg, Kalmar, and Malmo. And we think that this is very relevant, not just because the geographical distribution, that is from the north to the south of Europe and Central, it's also the size of the cities, from the small one to Judenburg to the big one of Malmo. And additionally, it's important the climate of each area, but also, for example, the different solutions that they are adapted and it can be relevant. For example, in the Nordic countries, they use a lot of district heating. In the southern countries, more or less, is driven by gas. And then, for example, in Judenburg, in Austria, it's like a mix. It's really a special situation. So the summary of this project, more or less, is to create a platform to cover the gaps in terms of knowledge and resources and local conditions for small and medium cities. Has to be useful and user-friendly. This is the main target. Have to involve the city actors, and it is staged to different sizes to be able to replicate in an easy way to different other cities. So thank you very much for the...
Thanks, Nicolás. The next speaker is Mr. Alex Raventos, coming from X1 Wind. Alex is CEO, mechanical engineer by training, and Alex is going to explain us interesting opportunities to profit from local energy sources like wind.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Alex Raventos. I'm co-founder of X1 Wind, and I'd like to talk to you today about the role that floating wind and the wind resources that we have in our coast can play in the future in order to supply electricity for our cities. Let's start looking at where the population lives. As you can see here in the map for the US, there's a trend towards population moving to coastal areas and into larger and larger cities. In the US, both on the eastern and western coast, there's a lot of population, but also close to the Great Lakes. And this is not something in the US, but it's a global trend. And that's exactly where our best wind resources are located. Oops, sorry, let me go back. As you can see here on the map of the US as well, The red and the blue areas are where the highest wind resources are, and they're exactly off the coast of the US. There's also good resource on the middle of the country, which is not as good as the one offshore, but it's thousands of kilometers away from the demand. So in order to get closer, cleaner energy, there's more availability of wind energy resources offshore and closer to the cities. The problem with current wind technology, offshore wind technology, is actually fixed to the seabed, and you can only install that up to 30, 40 meters water depth, and you require these huge offshore vessels in order to do the installation. They need to drill a hole, they need to mount the substructure, then the tower, then the nacelle, the rotor, the blades, and that's a very complex and expensive operation. But more importantly, 80% of the wind energy resources are located in deep waters, where you cannot use fixed foundations and you need to go floating. That's why in our company we've developed a disruptive technology. We've tried to redesign the whole concept in order to make it lighter and simpler to install. Our system, as you can see here, orientates passively with the wind in the same way as a boat would do. It's only more than a single point, and by doing that we can eliminate the tower, reducing bending moments on the structure. We can eliminate the active orientation system, the active ballast system, reducing by 50 to 80% the amount of steel, but also making installation much simpler. You can see here our pivot buoy. We can pre-install that while we do the whole assembly of the structure in the ports, and then tow it to the location and just clip it on the mooring system. It's not only lighter, but it's also more reliable. We have less active systems, which are very important because they may have issues and they may require maintenance offshore, which is very expensive. It's easier to connect, but also, more importantly, it's more scalable. We can go up to 1,000 meter water depth if we want to, so that's covering a vast area in our oceans. And we can also go into larger turbines, which have a number of economies of scale, make it energy cheaper. We haven't designed anything new, really. What we've done is combine existing offshore technology in a smart way. So we're combining the benefits of TLP, that's a well-known offshore technology, tension-like platform it's called, with semi-submersible technology in order to get a lighter structure, but also very easy to install. At the end of the day, in energy, you need to reduce the cost of electricity. You have a graph here of the LCOE, which is the level as cost, and we expect to reduce by 40% the LCOE of other floating systems in our first project. And in the long term, we expect to reduce even larger below 50 euros per megawatt hour, which would be competitive with onshore wind, solar, and any other renewable energy technology today. In the short term, we want to focus on islands. Islands are very interesting because on one hand, they have energy issues. They need to import the electricity. They need to import oil, which is not only very pollutant, but also very expensive for electricity production. By using our technology, we're already below the LCOE that you achieve with oil in those islands. We plan to do our first prototype installing the Canary Islands as a demonstration project to show how floating wind can supply energy for islands in the short term, while in the long term we expect to supply energy for any other city. The floating potential is huge, only accounting for Europe, the US, and Japan. It's around 7,000 gigawatt hours. Just to have an order of magnitude, that's 14 times the amount of onshore and offshore wind capacity we have today. And in order to achieve our long-term targets, we need to exploit all this amount of electricity. Where we are, we've tested our concept in the lab. We're now running simulations. We're going to do a new set of tests in France at 150 scale. And after that, we plan to do our demonstration in the Canary Islands, as I said, at part scale. And then we're looking into full-scale demonstration and the first projects. And we're looking for partners for that. We're not only looking for companies, but also for local governments from cities in order to be the front runners in this energy transition. Thank you very much, and you have my contact here. Please contact if you're interested.
Thanks, Alex, for this really exciting technology improvement. The next speaker is Alicia Valle Cantalejo. Alicia is coming from Viladecans city. She's the managing director of Viladecans municipal companies. The floor is yours, Alicia.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm sorry for you. I'm not talking about technology, as just Alex and the rest of my partners did. I'm talking about citizens, okay? What for us, like a city councils, are our prime objectives. I don't know about you, but when I saw my project, I was absolutely in in that side of the slide, because when we talk energy transition, the professionals exactly know what are we talking about. But if you go to citizens, they don't really know what is that means. For sure, energy transition is a global challenge, and we are working it from the local. And we ask ourselves, how can we involve our citizens to face that global challenge? And the conclusion was that we really have to create easier tools for them to get them involved. And how we do that? Well, we create our magical formula, and we like to call it local from Viladecans. This is just a joke, and that's the way we're gonna to push the change in our city. With this local means for us, what are we talking about? We create our formula aiming to grow a new way to governance about energy transition, to create a new local economy ruling with energy, improving the ownerships and sense of belonging, with a new creative thinking about the issues between energy transitions. For sure, a very, very good goal for our project is awareness and knowledge, and the secret ingredient of everything that is love that makes the world rules. This is what we're creating right now, a new way to governance the energy transition in the city. We really believe that the leadership of the change must be from citizens working together with administrations, companies, trades, so all the charges of the cities must be involved. It is a new way to governance, and the leadership for sure is shared, absolutely. Very fast. Local economy. Vilavat, that is the name of our project, is about creating our own energy company. Also, a local currency linked to the energy savings that we will get with this own energy company, and creating a possibility to fight against full poverty and social exclusion through a circular system. I'm going very fast, then you can ask. How do we do that? For sure, we have to improve the ownership and sense of belonging of the citizens with the project. How we did that? How are we already doing that? We create a participatory strategic plan with 10 social actors involved. Right now, we're working very hard on that. And a lot of communication activities just to approach the see and watch what we're doing, you know. We are trying to act with a creative thinking, of course, to finding a creative solution to every challenge. You know, here in Spain, we have a very tough framework about energy, so we have to fight against that inside the law, but facing the law too. Promoting agreement with our citizens, trades and company, with other administrations also. Just as I say, creating a way to see approach, generating curiosity and pride and sense of belonging to Viladecans, and involving another public administration. Right now we're working with Área Metropolitana de Barcelona that will be the partner of our project. We're very proud about that. Awareness and knowledge. We have already put work in our capacity plans for citizens, trades, commercials, companies, and we create these open spaces to exchange ideas and good practices. For sure, this will be one of the easiest tools to push that change. And for sure, love to our citizens, that means respect. We really believe that we have to share the leadership of the project with them and co-create, just one of the other speakers told at the beginning. Without our citizens, this project for sure won't go on. So I think I'm on time. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thanks, Alicia. The next speaker is Mr. Claes Sommansson, coming from Gothenburg. He's a project coordinator and energy expert, and he's going to explain us his view and his efforts in Johannesburg Science Park.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. My name, as mentioned, is Claes Sommansson. I come from Gothenburg in Sweden, the second largest city. This is a project I will speak of. It's run by the city of Gothenburg in a co-creation with 9 different partners in the city, both from the academia and also from the industry. As the title addresses, it looks at the future, where you really can find a fossil-free energy district. How can that run? And it was mentioned before, if you have a lot of more small-scale production, more wind and so on. The solution I will focus on here, that we try to develop and demo in this project, is a local marketplace, and the idea is to include both electricity and district heating and district cooling, 3 utilities in the same smart grid, so to speak. We might include gas as well, but it's not used in a wider scope in Sweden for heating purposes. The idea is to find a solution to optimize and to be able to integrate all kind of local production in the system. And we have targets to optimize the use of the flexibility or different energy storages, and also to avoid so-called fossil peaks that occur in the grids when you need to, for example, in the cold winter in Sweden, to start up a boiler in the middle of the winter. Instead, we can use the smartness to reduce the need at that moment, and in the same way in the electrical grid. Actually, in Sweden today, the energy system is almost fossil-free in a very large extent. The electrical system is based on nuclear power and hydropower mainly. And the district heating system is a very common solution. In Gothenburg, about 90% of all houses is connected, and it's about 80% fossil-free. But there is a target from the city until 2030 to reach 100% fossil-free district heating. And there is also a target in the country as whole to have a renewable production of electricity, 100% renewable in 2040. And that means to replace a lot of nuclear plants as well. What we do here is that we divide all the different stakeholders or players in this district, all the buildings and all production facilities, as local market participants. Here it could be a producer as solar PVs or heat pumps or other solutions. It might be through consumers, or it might be these prosumer solutions where you have a heat pump in a building, for example, also connected to a district heating network, and also different kind of storages. And in the demo, we will have about 40 different market participants. For example, we have a small-scale bio-CHP plant in the middle, and different heat pumps that can also recover heat from the district cooling system and give it back. And on the outside, it's not only focused on the local side, it's very much connected to the overlaying market, such as the district heating market in Gothenburg. And here we create an hourly based price on district heating unique for this project. So each player, the house will be a player very similar to the utility company in one way, because they will both place bids and place them 10 hours ahead to see, okay, I need this much, I can store this much, or I can sell this much. And then it will be an algorithm in the middle that helps everything work together. And in this way, we can also provide services to the local DSO, to the local electrical grid, and make everything run in a better way, we hope. We create an IoT solution for this together with the company Ericsson, situated in Gothenburg and in, of course, many other cities as well. And we create different kind of agents, software entities for each of the market participant here to do the best prognosis calculations. So it's a lot of this digitalization of the energy sector, so to speak, and to put this all together. And by this we create also a test bed in Gothenburg for this purpose. And it's funded by the same actually as the previous project, Urban Innovative Actions. And their idea is to create urban labs of Europe, and this is also what we try to do here, to work with this solution. And we have an aim to add startups to try their new innovative solution in this context, but also to start up new research projects from this platform. Thank you.
Thanks. The next speaker is the Professor Roel Bunschoten, coming from Chora Conscious City Institute for Sustainable Urban Planning and Urban Design at the Technical University of Berlin. The floor is yours, Roel.
Thank you. Hello. My theme is affordable housing, and especially the question, how can we create affordable housing on mass scale using a digital revolution? One example, Berlin needs to build about 30,000 affordable units a year, but currently only manages about 6,000 to 8,000. So our proposal is to work on the deficit and how to do that. The building industry, of course, is also one of the causes of greenhouse emissions, so we would like to take that on board as well. The reality is that most of the housing worldwide is made like this. A lot of it informal. Go to cities like Johannesburg or Cairo and you will see this kind of picture. Actually, the technology is still pretty low. It's almost like we're building, it was the technology of the 70s still, while we're making cars and rockets in a completely different technology. For example, with Tesla. So the question is, can we develop a disruptive technology to actually create components with which we can create, we meet the demand of the affordable housing, and of course make it flexible and follow the needs of citizens, as we have heard before. So make adaptive systems that we can then apply on a mass scale with codes. And we're looking actually at the creation of new types of factories. Here is a proposal for Tempelhof that we feel are actually cultural events, because people should know that digitalization is not only driverless cars, it's also building cities in a completely new and much more affordable way, but also a way that you can deal with climate impact. You will see in this expo, you will see nothing on housing. I looked through it. So this is still a new component to smart city development that we call city making or smart city making. We have the technologies, it's just not yet quite possible. We have to develop, of course, new robotics, new methods of construction, and this is very exciting. I do some work with my students on that. How do we create completely new kinds of things in which we create buildings that are energy plus, of course, interconnected with the urban systems, where no plan is the same. We can put factors in it, businesses, we can put affordable houses in it. And then with smart logistics, spread them across the city through new kinds of manufacturing technology. This is a robotic type of manufacturing that uses massive wood. Wood is a very interesting component because it's sustainable, it captures CO2, it has a great quality, and of course it belongs to circular economy. We can reuse wood again, every component of use. So we're looking a lot at using wood in this type of intelligent prefabrication, as we call it, how the development of Industry 4.0 and digitalization can allow the construction of prefabricated buildings, which are smart, responsive, greatly flexible, modular, highly energy and resource efficient, yet low cost, and with a highly reduced construction time. And of course, we have to use the opportunities of digitalization, IoT systems, smart systems, to create building kits. And building kit is the quite important thing. It's now, think of Lego and kind of the playfulness of it. But building kits is what we need for cities, because that way we can also interconnect systems. We already heard some talk about heat and energy before, and we think with the building kit development we can also link to different types of city systems in order to make a much more efficient type of energy management for the whole city. So we are thinking of 100% wood buildings like this that are actually prefabricated with the digital methods, but at the same time it is actually connected into very complex kind of systems that make up the city. So on the right side you see production lines for cities. This is really something new. We don't have that yet because we think the production should be outside the city. We think it should be inside the city. So we think on another level, we meet demands of the UN. This is the UN Sustainable Goal of 11, in order to do this differently. and to work with countries like Indonesia and Mexico and actually to create modern, contemporary and smart cities that help this 828 million people to get housing that is every energy efficient. It is low cost, but at the same time it helps with community building. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Raoul. The last speaker today is Mr. Sten Wengilder from Southern Company Energy Innovation Center, who's going to talk us about the food, smart food in the city. Very interesting topic for the energy company, actually, energy utility.
Yeah, exactly. Really excited to be here today. Great to see everyone. I'm Stan Van Gilder, Program Manager with Southern Company's Energy Innovation Center. And yeah, the topic is smart food. When you think about smart cities, you think about public safety, connectivity, mobility, energy, and water. What about food? It's a basic human need and frequently not mentioned in that conversation. We think that smart food has a very critical role in the smart cities discussion. Just really quickly about Southern Company, you can think of us as the energy company. We're the second largest in the country, 46,000 megawatts of generating capacity, known mostly for Georgia Power and the electric operating companies in the southeast U.S. We're headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. Georgia, it was named recently the top state to do business for the 6th year in a row by Site Selection magazine, so we're kind of proud of that. So the question you might ask is, so what has an energy company got to do with food, and why is an energy company involved in that? Well, some people point out that, you know, the calorie is a unit of energy, so you can think of delivering energy maybe in a new way. Okay, that may be a little bit of a stretch. But also there are benefits that fit with indoor agriculture that fit our strategy already. Environmental benefits such as using 90% less water, 90% less land, 70% less fertilizer, no pesticides and herbicides required. Lower emissions and supply chain. We had a lot of conversation just a little while ago about lowering emissions. You know, the food supply chain can be pretty clunky, 2,400 miles trucked across the U.S. to get to our food. And so if we can move that point of production closer to the point of consumption, then we can help lower those emissions, improve that supply chain. We also have a very active group within the company around health, education, and inclusion. It fits well there. We've been focused on economic development for more than 90 years as an energy company, so this fits well. And at the end of the day, guess what? The indoor growers are ideal electricity customers. Their loads are heavy but flat, which is a great load shape for us. They also have flexible usage, and they can take advantage of our best off-peak rates. So they're perfect customers for us. I want to just give you 3 quick examples of projects that we're involved with in Atlanta. Aglanta, the AgTech Challenge on the Beltline, and Georgia Tech Campus Sustainability. First, Aglanta. I thought this was pretty innovative. A couple of years ago, the city of Atlanta, wanting to promote AgTech, sort of rebranded itself as Aglanta. We've hosted 2 international conferences now that were very successful. They have the Aglanta Grows a Lot program, where they're actually putting urban gardens in city-owned property, including underneath power lines. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then also the Taste of Aglanta, where we invite restaurants that serve locally produced food to showcase with a fantastic event at night. Invite everyone in town. Really a great event. The next one that I'll mention is a project that we're very proud to be working with the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce and Invest Atlanta. You guys wave? There you are. Okay. So the Atlanta Beltline, most of you probably don't know about it. It's a 22-mile trail. It's formerly railroad beds. Now, those trains have not run in many decades, and this is now being redeveloped into urban transportation. We've got a challenge out there for 6 companies, 6 startups in the ag tech space to position themselves along the Beltline, and it's 2 point however many million visitors that it receives every year, and to get a chance to help launch those companies. So very excited about that. Creating the food future of Atlanta. And as we speak this week, that challenge is going forward, and they're narrowing down to select those winners. And the last one that I'll mention, Georgia Tech Campus Sustainability. This is the newest project. And the thing that's interesting about this, Georgia Tech is one of the top engineering schools in the country. You would expect them to be involved in research and development or the academic angles around this topic. But Georgia Tech tells us that they want to be an ecosystem unto itself on the campus to solve the other, maybe non-technical issues around urban agriculture. Examples such as awareness, acceptance of agriculture, increasing, figuring out an equitable business model, environmental angles around that, resilience, and also the health benefits. So we're very happy to be supporting Georgia Tech in that. And that was really fast, and I appreciate your attention. If anyone has any questions, please reach out to me. Thank you.
Wow, thanks, Stan. I mean, this is really something unique. We are in time. We even gained a couple of minutes for our dear audience to make questions. So please, the floor is now for you. Any question from the audience? Any comment? Okay. Then in the meantime, I'm going to start. Raul, can you explain us how near to the market is your solution and your idea?
Pretty near. We're aiming at building 2 prototypes with the wood system, one in Berlin and one in Helsinki this year. Working together with a housing association in Berlin and a housing project developer in Helsinki who's already has a lot of experience in wood. What is not near, of course, is the types of production lines to produce the actual intelligent prefabrication components. That will take a little bit longer.
Okay, Alicia has a comment, but I would also like to put the question to Alicia exactly and to Iker. Do you see this as an interesting solution for your projects and for your daily job?
I have a question also for Stan. Which administrations are involved in the project? The City Council of Atlanta and the government? Can you explain a little bit of that?
Basically, anyone that can work with us, we recruit. So the City of Atlanta, the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, Invest Atlanta, local governments, academic, public, private, everybody. If they share the goals of improving health and also, again, moving ag tech into the cities and moving it closer to where all the population is, then we consider them a partner. And all of those organizations are represented.
I was going to address your question regarding the food, because I think it's interesting. When we started this process, we didn't have much ambition to reinvent, but it was like, hey, let's live nearby in a convenient manner. And as we start deep diving, we start seeing all these different opportunities, and there's so much to be done on many fronts. And for example, around all the construction process, that's why we thought we put together this open innovation program saying, hey, let's work with corporates, with startups that want to reinvent things, because we're not going to be able to do it alone. And there's just so many moving pieces. For example, we're talking with like furniture manufacturers, so we can build circular economy business models, so we offer furniture as a service. And now let's think about, hey, if the manufacturing process is not flexible, competitive, etc., that means the housing is going to be more expensive, though that hits our affordable housing objective. So there are just so many elements, I think, to be rethought on cities that it makes it really interesting. That's why we're seeing at least the district as a great platform to start new things, innovations, pilots, creating kind of that living lab in different phases. And we're thinking about the district also as a way of a series of minimal viable products, like if it were a startup, in which we start generating outputs. It's not we wait, 5 years, big master plan, 400 pages, and then it happens by chance. We want to be accelerating and implementing things and change. Makes a lot of sense.
Any? Si ves oportunidades para incluir el sistema de rápida fabricación que ha presentado Raúl. Rápida fabricación y la digital manufacturing of low, let's say, cost housing for improvement of housing market.
Okay. So in Vilabat we have a lot of different issues. One of them is the rehabilitation of already built dwellings, and we are searching for new technologies you know, just in the way the speaker from Berlin was talking about. And that's one of the parts of our project. And we're looking for some innovative solutions about DAO, but not for the new buildings, so only for the demo renovation right now. In the future, we will searching for these new technologies, just as in Paterna are doing for the new neighborhoods. So the City Council is involved about researching these new solutions for the future plan. About the company, the new electric company, that is the other part of our project. For sure, we're buying, for now, we're starting buying global energy for all our citizens involved in Bilabab. Energy for sure, energy that would be green, 100%. And we will see if we can share our knowledge with other city councils in the area to make Bilabab grow, not only in Viladecans, also in the comarca. Okay.
Any question from the audience? If not, I'm going to continue. I mean, I have plenty of them. Okay. So I think there is a kind of interesting trend that from some areas, some fields, some expertise, we understand that we need less and less global infrastructures, and from the other point of view, it seems that we need more and more infrastructures. So I'd like to pose the question to Cyril, for example, and Aloisio. Do you think our smart districts are going to need more or less infrastructures? I'm not talking about the individual building, but the general scope of the district or city.
I think maybe that's an easy answer, but I think we need different infrastructure. What does different mean? I think a bigger part of the infrastructure, due to make a very long story short, to digital and downscaling possibilities, is being built through initiative bottom-up, which was not how infrastructure developed in our cities for decades and centuries, not at all. Now the challenge is how to integrate that into real community systems. I do not believe that we can substitute all public infrastructure by private devices. If you take the example of cooling, we have an enormous rising issue on carbon and climate change linked to cooling. If we do not manage to address this issue of cooling by community systems, which don't have to be very large, but still which have an underlying resource strategy in them and a zero carbon target, we could add up to our current emissions, according to the most reliable international studies, the equivalent of the full energy consumption of Africa, just because of the cooling needs rising. So we cannot rely only on each of us disconnecting from everything and building up its own solutions.
This is an important question because more is less, is different. And we did with the combination of the power, the gas, and the power lines, it's possible to create a cogeneration through the biogas, for example. It's not necessary to bring a lot of energy from the outside. It's possible to create a smart energy through this combination of this, gas with power by cogeneration.
Any further comment or question? If not, I mean, we are in time, but well, our time is running out. So I would like just to thank to our speakers, really outstanding and inspirational examples. I would also like to thank for extremely well management of time. This is my first experience of this kind. I used to moderate panels of 3 to 5 persons with great problems with time, and here with 10 speakers we are really keeping in schedule. So we've seen quite wide scope of approaches to eco-districts, I would say, and low carbon developments. Number of solutions, number of inspiring proposals, coming from, co-creation, from the citizen, from the planning in terms of co-creation, also energy planning, several technological improvements related with the digital technologies, really very, very interesting. Also relating with the new technologies in terms of markets and also in terms of something so important as smart food integration in the city. So thank you very much to all of you. Thank you for your time, and well, keep networking via devices. Thanks.